Okay. So you left. Or maybe the thing ended. Maybe it shifted on its own and you found yourself on the other side of it without even really remembering the moment that you crossed over. Either way, you're out. And perhaps in that crossing, that leaving, you expected this magical moment where clarity would arrive, you know, where clarity would arrive and you would have this relief that washed over you and return to yourself magically somehow. You would find yourself whole again, so to speak. But the curtain on clarity was never pulled back. That relief you were expecting is not clear or complete. And that real you doesn't pop back up right on cue, like she'd been waiting in the wings. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't happen that way. Now, yes, you may have some level of clarity and relief. Yes, those will be there, no doubt. But there's also something else. And it's that little quiet piece that when you're looking at yourself and you don't fully recognize who you're looking at, and it's not because there's something wrong with you. It's just that for so long you weren't being yourself. You were adapting to a space, managing it, if you will, and moving about within the space that you were in and softening the parts of you that created friction in that space. And you found yourself where you were holding things together that weren't yours to hold alone. You know, you became who you had to be in order to survive the environment that you were in. So now that environment is gone. But that version of you who lived in it, she doesn't just disappear because you walked out. She's still there. She's still here. She's still braced for tension that isn't there anymore. Still softening herself and her voice out of habit rather than necessity. Then you find yourself still reaching to make things smooth, make things right in rooms where nothing needs smoothing. And again, it's not because you're broken. It's because that's what survival does. It builds patterns. And patterns, they don't just dissolve just because the circumstances changed. So there's this period of time that can last longer than you'd expect, where you know you're out, but you haven't fully got that through your head yet. You haven't fully arrived yet, where you know what you don't want, but aren't sure what you do. Where you have clarity, and that clarity is real, but it isn't the same as ease. And that's because clarity asks something of you. You know, clarity means that you can see the patterns now. You can see the patterns in yourself, and you can see how you've been moving throughout the world. You can see what you've accepted and what you've explained away. And you cannot unsee that, which means you can't move through the world the same way you did before. Clarity gives you direction, but it removes that comfort you had in not knowing. And that feels like it's a loss, even when it's really growth. There's a thing that the people don't tell you about leaving is that the unfamiliar, it doesn't always feel better at first, even when it's healthier, even when it's right. And you know this. You know, that old thing was painful and it was wrong, but you knew it. You knew what it was. And what you know, it has a pull to it, even after you've left it. So yeah, you may stumble into this new space and you may reach for old responses in situations that don't require them anymore. And you're questioning everything simply because that new ground that you're on, it doesn't feel steady under your feet yet. But that's not failure. That's it's crazily actually what transition feels like. You're just not leaving the place. You're unlearning a version of yourself that was built for that place. And reclaiming your voice takes practice. And no, it doesn't feel clean or confident at first. It just feels madly uncertain. It really does. It's like saying something that's true and then immediately wanting to take it back. There's a hesitation in expressing your need because you're bracing for what comes after that expression, even when nothing comes. It's like taking up space and waiting for someone to tell you that's too much. But you start where you can. You know, it's letting that thought finally leave your mouth. Or when you find yourself about to apologize and you catch yourself and then you don't. Or maybe it's one of those boundaries that let go previously, but you hold that line now. You know, you're not letting go where you used to let go. And they don't look like it's a big deal from the outside. But those moments, they build that trust within yourself that you got this, that you can handle this. And you become stronger with each step towards who you are. And you'll notice that that distance between who you are and who you had been, it has been closing. You answered something honestly without the usual negotiation in your head first. The world didn't burn down. It was fine. It was just that, just fine. And in that smallness, there is a shift. And you're not just someone who left, you're someone who is becoming. And becoming after a long time of having to be something else, it's not a small thing. It's the whole thing. Who are you when you're no longer who you had to be? You're finding out. And that is exactly where you're supposed to be right now. Sit with yourself there and continue traveling.